Okay, if you want to come down to the front, there's a few seats left here, and then we need to get started. Pardon? No, I put all the agendas out. Okay. Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome to the March meeting of the North End Neighborhood Council. If you came here for the Home in Tacoma presentation, you're out of luck. They canceled on us. So, however, we got plenty of other stuff to keep us occupied. I think we've still got some of the people arriving. So I just want to start quickly off with some announcements. As you're aware, our Pierce County Council person is Robin Denson. She has a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at Cutters Point, where she does her outreach to the community. So having been to one of those before, if any of you are interested in reaching out to Robin, she's very approachable, and I'd encourage you to do that. When we got the cancellation from the Home in Tacoma, we tried to find some fill-ins, and one of the items that was brought up to us was the juvenile justice community convening, which is to do with the replacement or the upgrading of the juvenile hall. I think it's Raymond Hall. Yeah. So they were unable to come at short notice, but there is a hearing on that on Wednesday, and we do plan on scheduling them for one of our future meetings. January, if you remember, we had the mayor came and gave us a great presentation. A couple of follow-ups on that. On Wednesday, he's doing his State of the City meeting. You can find details of that. I think it's at 6 o'clock with some socializing from 5 o'clock onwards. Following our meeting in January, if you remember, we'd reached out to everybody for questions for the mayor. So we got pages and pages of questions, which we distilled down to avoid all the duplicates. And following his presentation, I sent them to him and said, you know, Mr. Mayor, here are the questions, just so that you're aware of what it is that the community is interested in and is making us excited or unexcited, whatever. And Friday, I got an answer to every single question. 9 pages of answers, detailed answers. So the board will sit down and distill those the questions and answered. But I think that's what a great outreach effort by the mayor to just come back to us and answer all of those questions. Another follow-up, last meeting, you'll remember we had somebody spoke to us at the last minute about the potential elimination of the Environmental Services Commission. And I think we agreed that I was going to write a letter to the city. So I haven't been writing letters, but I have been in dialogue with them on that issue. And that is being brought up to the Government Performance and Finance Committee. And I will be working with our city representatives to make sure that we are aware of what is involved in that and what other areas we need to deal with. And then our last bit of excitement, we had a busy weekend, which we get onto in item 3. But another item that came up on Saturday was we found out that in the discussions in Olympia, there was an effort to eliminate funding from the Department of Natural Resources for their urban forestry project. So as you all know, we are sitting here at 21% against our goal of 30%. So we are the city in Western Washington with the lowest canopy. And of that money that goes to DNR, the largest recipient of that money is us here. Both publicly, that's given to the city to manage through the forestry department, but also privately through the Tacoma Tree Foundation, who get those funds. So we are watching that. We wrote a letter off, and some of the other board members have sent in individual items on that. And we have next month, as we have our 3 representatives from 27th District, as well as their normal rote production of what happened, we'll ask them the tough question of how did they vote on that issue, because it's important to us. So that is all the announcements I have, and I want to move on to Bigfoot Pizza, which I think is probably a lot of you in the room are here because of that. So, Kristen, you're going to start this conversation off? So we reached out to, when we were contacted by some of the neighbors about that, we immediately reached out to the city and reached out to our council people. Sarah Rumbell and I have spoken a couple of times. I spoke to her this morning. She's on a plane coming back from Washington, D.C. She apologizes that she's not at this meeting. She does normally come to these meetings when she's in town. But she has committed to a community meeting on that subject. So whatever we discuss here can almost be like your dress rehearsal before Sarah has her meeting. But having said that, I'm going to pass it over to Christina, who's our representative from the city manager's office. And the city told us that they would be sending somebody to talk about it, and apparently it's Christina.
I got the lucky card tonight. So yes, my name is Christina Kahn. I am the liaison for the city manager's office. So tonight I am going to talk to you all a little bit about code compliance and some of the processes we use at the city for code compliance. I am not a code compliance officer, so I'll be speaking to you guys kind of at a 30,000 foot level, but hopefully it gives you a good sense as you go into the meeting with Councilmember Rumbaugh that Peter just mentioned of kind of what our code compliance system and structure looks like in the city. So let's see. So first of all, our code compliance team is now currently housed in the Planning and Development Services Department. It shifted into that department, and they are tasked essentially with maintaining compliance with the Tacoma Municipal Code. And so that's all the rules and regulations for the city. And what happens is generally our code compliance investigations get launched when one of you, a member of our community, calls Tacoma First 311 to report a concern. So as soon as you report that concern to Tacoma First 311, that triggers either our tax and license office or our code compliance officers to start to investigate. Have you all tried 311? Yes, fantastic. I always got to put in a plug for 311 because it's so important to just the way the city collects data and the way the city can understand different issues going on in the community and where there could be hotspots for various items. So please keep using 311. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of a few different types of complaints that come in and what the city does with those complaints. So I'm going to start with concerns about a business license. So let's say you're out, you're shopping somewhere, and you say, this is strange, this doesn't look like they have a business license, it's very informal. What you do is, again, you call 311 and report your concern that there's no business license. The business license concerns get investigated then by our tax and license compliance officers. I thought you were, just applauding me prematurely here. So if the business is found to be out of compliance in that they don't have a business license, they receive a notice and compliance officers will work with them to try to come back into compliance. In the city of Tacoma, we work very hard to help folks come into voluntary compliance with our code. And so we try to help people to find ways to bring their properties or their businesses or their activities into compliance with, again, the Tacoma Municipal Code. So next, I want to talk a little bit about noise complaints. This is a big one too. So again, you may be at your home and your next door neighbor is throwing a wild and crazy party and it's gotten very, very loud. And so you can report a noise issue. So again, you could call 311 and make your complaint about the noise. This then is investigated by a different set of folks. This is investigated by the code compliance staff. And so what they will then do is they will engage in visits, again, in usually the late evening hours, if that's when the noise is taking place, or on weekends, which again requires our staff to shift their schedules around, but they do that so that they can investigate if the noise is taking place. And then if they do see a violation, a notice of violation can be issued. And so the notice, when you get a notice, hopefully none of you are violating our noise compliance code. But if you do get a notice, it will identify the applicable code section that you have violated, describe the violation, and provide a deadline that you have to correct the issue by. And then the responsible party is required at that point to cease the noise and take steps to reduce that noise. This can include all sorts of things, lowering the amplification of the sound, putting in other kinds of corrective steps to buffer the sound. But if the violation continues and the steps they've taken are not appropriate, then penalties can start to occur for the responsible party. Civil fines can be assessed if the violation persists, and continued non-compliance can result in additional enforcement action by the city. So let's see. Generally, noise is not just due to people kind of outside. So if we all stood outside here and we were all saying goodnight to each other and that made some noise, that's not necessarily a noise complaint. It's a noise violation. It has to be sort of ongoing and persistent noise that rises to that kind of level. So like if we put a speaker out there and turned on some loud music and decided to play that all night long, that's definitely a violation. I do just want to talk very quickly about two more items. So parking is another big one. Again, street parking in the city of Tacoma is available to everyone, as long as you're adhering to the posted signs. So whether that's a handicap spot or a red curb, you're required to follow those signs, and anyone who is not following those signs can be reported as violating our parking. Now, our parking teams are very, very cool. Actually, they get real-time alerts for a lot of the parking violations that you all submit to 311. Very sophisticated system. And so if you see someone parked illegally, report that right away to 311. And if it's after hours, you can call TPD's non-emergency line and report it to them. And so important to do that. And then the last part I wanted to mention as well is just the issue with over-service of alcohol. So Washington State actually has very strict laws in terms of both the sale of alcohol to people who are visually impaired and intoxicated. If, let's say, a bar has a customer who is intoxicated and they continue to serve that customer alcohol, they can face some steep penalties for doing so. So again, in Washington State, you're not allowed to overserve your customers once they are visibly intoxicated. So if you think that bars or restaurants are engaging in overservice, it's really important that you report that to the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. So again, that's a little bit of a different step than our regular 311 process, but that's really the most important place to go to let the liquor board know that overservice is happening. That's a very, very quick overview of what happens when it goes from you all in our community noticing a violation taking place and dialing 311 to then the city taking action on that 311 complaint. And I do want to say we take action immediately on those complaints. We don't have a process where we wait several months or something like that to act on them. So when your complaints are coming into 311 for these code violations, please do know that the city is taking immediate action for you and working to bring whatever business it might be back into compliance. Yes.
I think that's what is they want to know what
Yep.
is being reported.
Oh, yes. He also. Did you have something, sir? Christina. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, no, sorry, I do completely understand, though, thank you. First and foremost, I'm so sorry to hear that you experienced having gun violence around you. And TPD, I know, is here, and they can speak far more robustly than I can to public safety issues in the North End. And so I'm sure that they will be able to speak to some of the public safety issues. I did also want to say that what's very important, I hope everybody in the room, again, Peter mentioned this, but I just want to stress it, is that Councilmember Sarah Rumba, who represents District 2, will be holding a community meeting to discuss the properties. And so that is really going to be a space where there'll be a lot more in-depth discussion that can take place. So tonight, I am just kind of speaking to you about just the city process and the steps that we go through when we get a complaint from the community, so that you can just kind of understand, what's going on behind the scenes after you call or, enter a request into 311. But maybe now's a good time to transition to TPD and let them talk about public safety. Oh, sorry. I don't have an exact date. We've been going back and forth on the date, but it will be soon in the coming weeks. Yeah, sorry she's not here tonight too. She was traveling, so. But yes, Captain Darlington, thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Christina Kahn from the City Manager's Office. I'll start. Just a couple announcements. My name is Corey Darlington. I've been to these meetings for a number of years as a sector commander. And we also have our community liaison officers who you really want to hear from here in a few minutes, but I'll just start off. We'll get to Bigfoot Pizza in a minute. So this sheet tells you who to contact. So you'll notice my name is at the top, Corey Darlington. I'm the Division Commander for Community Policing. On the back side is the sector commander, is Lieutenant Rock, who some of you may be familiar with. And then we have our community liaison officers, Butts and Brazil, who are here tonight and can speak in more detail about Bigfoot Pizza. And I'll just say that being a longtime sector commander, so I've been with the department a long time, and we've gone down this road myself a few hundred times, and I've had great success in shutting down businesses. But as Christina mentioned, there's a process, and we just don't shut. First of all, the police department is not always the lead on these projects. So we collaborate with all the other city entities that she mentioned and outside agencies like liquor control, for example. So everyone has a piece of the pie, so to speak. And ultimately, no matter how, people might be frustrated or upset, I get it, the shots fired. The ultimate goal is to bring, it was mentioned, bring the business back into compliance. So that's the ultimate goal. And keep in mind that any city entity, especially I would say the police department, we have limited, we're limited in our duties and responsibilities. So we can't just go in there and wave the magic anti-crime wand and shut the business down just like that. It takes a lot more than that. And I've done that personally a number of times, but I can tell you it's a difficult process and it takes quite a few steps. So that's, I'm just mentioning that, setting the stage for what's going to come up here in a few minutes. So with that, if you have questions, well, then I'll have, go ahead and I'll call up Officers Brazil and Butts to the front, then we can have more of a discussion. Oh, and the other announcement I was going to make, regardless, I knew Bigfoot Pizza was on the agenda, but I wanted to start off with something nice, and that was last Thursday we welcomed Chief Patty Jackson as our permanent chief. So you saw that in the paper, the news media. Yeah. So we're super excited about that, and you've already read everything about her. She is just I can say a lot of things. I will say a boost, a shot in the arm, a real positive influence on our department. We are just absolutely, I can speak for, I think, all of us. We are absolutely thrilled to have her as chief. We're very fortunate. Okay, so we have Officer Butts, Officer Brazil, Corey Darlington, and we're happy to address now and discuss anything about Bigfoot Pizza. Well, I should mention, so it was mentioned shots fired. So that's what I have in my hand here. So, and the officers already know about it. So there was the incident of we call it unlawful discharge of a firearm. So shots fired. That was Friday night into Saturday morning, about 2 a.m. Just to set the stage. I don't know. I didn't write the report, so I don't have all the details, but we do believe it was connected to Bigfoot. Two shell casings found on North 13. So I just drove down there just before the meeting just to refresh my memory. I drive by there a few hundred times a week, so I'm familiar with the location. Get their text messages for pizza and the whole thing. Anyway, 2 rounds found, spent rounds on North 13, 2 unspent rounds. So, that's cause for concern, and we certainly are taking that seriously. So let's just go ahead, and if there are questions or comments, we'll be happy to hear it. Go ahead. Yeah, that was approved by Liquor Control Board. So I've seen that email also. Okay, so the Tacoma Police Department is not in charge of liquor control or giving out liquor licenses. And you mentioned, and it was mentioned, Christina mentioned the over service. That also would be in their ballpark. Very difficult. It's a fairly minor infraction, if you will, and super difficult to prove that, by the way, anything to do with liquor. But to your point, you're probably wondering, well, how the heck did that happen across from Lowell Elementary? Granted, it's under construction now, remodeled, but they'll be back obviously in September. So I don't have you already answered the question, but I'm not sure how that process occurred. So yeah, so by a matter of few feet. So it was beer and wine, and then they added the hard liquor. Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday. I've got people in front of my house doing, everything. Being in the alley. It's just ridiculous.
So I'm so familiar with the location. So maybe you could speak a little bit more to that. Okay, so we know it's Sammy's Pizza, just a regular pizza place, family friendly, because I was in there personally. I'm sure a lot of other people were. And then the tone or the mood or the business model changed within the last month, you're saying? Couple months. Okay.
Well, and for all of us, like with having a big liquor license, right? And I think none of us are really like sort of heated on that, except for these last 2 months. I live about 5 houses down the road, and it's like every weekend in the last 2 months, it's up to Annie to the point where, I saw somebody running down the road, stay away from that my family. And shots fired last week, and picking up my kids who are now hiding outside of the face with a stick on them because they know about Bigfoot Pizza, the events that are going. So I don't know that it's necessarily like, I get the liquor brings like more events to the area, but whatever this entertainment thing that they're doing on the weekend, being open to it, that's the shift that I think we're all seeing and where these problems are.
Yeah, so I just got the text. So tonight is karaoke night. So I'm curious, I might go to karaoke night to check it out myself. Yeah.
And we have tried to, we've put in a lot of, we have security guards to try to they're walking the neighborhood. But we're not doing karaoke nights Monday through Friday. There's no children, there shouldn't be children around 9 and later at a bar. But you can't have that after 11. I know, but you can send your children in. I've never felt threatened in this space. I've worked here for almost a year. I'm just saying, I answered your question. You're asking if it's going to go on.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. So are you an employee of the? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm glad you're here. So you can join in the discussion.
At the door when like Parkway, all those bars that we've all been to in our own community. Thanks.
Okay,
We don't operate under those pretenses.
let me answer that. The reason we have these people is because neighbors were complaining about noise. They're not there to balance people out. They're there to try and keep the noise down. People are coming and going. Okay, that's the reason we have them. I walk the neighborhood every night that we have these events. I have been unable to hear any noise around the neighborhood. I take that very seriously, and I have been walking around. Are you the owner? Yeah. We've had one incident a few weeks ago, unfortunate incident. We called the police. Okay, it's the only time in the last 6 months we've been doing this that we have called them. These are really good people. They just want to come have fun and sing. They really are. But
Okay.
this is being portrayed as people that are coming here. Okay.
Yeah, there's hang on, this person had a question, and then probably have Officer Brazil and Butts. They have probably more knowledge than I do about it. And they've been working, I will tell you, very hard, very diligently to work with those collaborative partners. But anyway, go ahead.
At the 3 hours in the morning, just before you close, after you close, is that 1%, I'm just guessing, those people stay in our neighborhood, sell drugs, shout, fight with each other, and now shooting guns.
You also had a drug dealer on the corner of the house hill there.
What are your is incorrect. Kids are frightened for will to have shots or fire in front of people's homes. And we care about the people who are shooting at each other too. We don't want anybody.
Can I respond?
So don't argue with us about our experience. Don't tell us our experiences are wrong. We do not want you to leave.
you.
I've been
understand
videotaping.
what's happening. You seem to be putting up a hand to us, and you think that these gunshots are okay.
No.
You are over-serving your customers, and there's a certain percentage of your customers walking outside and looking serving, and just.
Can I respond?
Go ahead.
We're shooting guns.
We are aware that.
Just so you know, that happened at 2:00. Our customers were all gone from the neighborhood.
This person would like to respond.
First time this has been happening, ever since the karaoke thing has come to the neighborhood,
I
That's when it
understand.
started.
I understand that, and I understand. Gunshots are not good. We're aware.
shouting is not
We're-
good.
But not shouting at us right now.
How
You told me not to interrupt you. Don't interrupt me, please. Okay?
But don't make excuses.
I
Don't make
am telling
excuses.
you guys have come to us very aggressively. It's been a month since all of this has. 2 months. Since you guys have been.
Pretty aggressive. I have a question for the police department, man. It's directly related to the conversation and that was a perfect segue into my question. And that is, my son is the one who called 911 first Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was about 1:09. He called the first time. And he called about some patrons who had gone back and forth to the restaurant. And he called and stated that he heard these patrons having an argument and that he heard a handgun rack. But he didn't see the handgun, so 911 didn't send anybody at 1:09. So this same gentleman, after hanging out for an hour and partying in the neighborhood, and continuing on with his group of friends and trying to fix a car, whatever they were doing, and figure out how they were gonna get home after closing hours. This gentleman decides he's gonna pop off 2 rounds with me. If it was your neighborhood,
Right,
you would be this aggressive.
right.
You get to go home at night, we don't.
We are.
My question to the police department is, next time there's a 911 call that suggests something like someone's racking a handgun, are you gonna not show up and wait until bullets go off? Or are you gonna take a call seriously, because the last couple of weeks, we've had 2-week time period, we've had police officers out there twice, once arresting somebody, and another time, an unknown person who frequents this place that likes to pop off rounds. Maybe coming back. Maybe wants to drink on Friday night. This is serious to us. I'm asking that 911 take it seriously. If somebody like my son calls and says there's an argument in front of my house within 10 feet of me, and I just heard a handgun rack. He said, I've been in the National Guard, I've been a security officer, I know what that sounds like. When I looked over, I didn't see a handgun, but I saw her push his hand down and tell him to put it away.
I don't want to.
Now,
I don't want to.
That's pretty serious, and I think it would warrant a response to that 911 call. Maybe you guys don't, I don't know you, I don't know how busy you are, I don't know the kind of stuff that you have to deal with. But I know this table is very concerned about that, and I know this table would like a response to those kind of calls.
Absolutely.
So that it doesn't lead to gun violence.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's just this table. I think the reason this room is so full here is because this weekend we had gunshots go off in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, and kind of give you a little backstory. So I reviewed the reports that came out, including the shots fired report. I did see the related calls. So anytime that there is a call at a location, and then subsequently more calls after that, they link them all together so you can very easily view the calls. So I did see the call that you're speaking of where it was mentioned that there was a couple arguing and a handgun, the sound of a handgun racking. So just to kind of give you a little bit of backstory, I guess, South Sound 911, they are our call takers. That's our dispatch center. And they do take the calls, they create the calls for service, and they prioritize the calls for service based on their policies and procedures. I will tell you that after looking at that call, because I looked at it this morning, officers were coming into the area. Officers did arrive in the area, not lights and sirens. That's not the call response that we're going to have for something like that, where it was a report, it was taken seriously, a call was created, officers did come into the area. They didn't hear a disturbance and they didn't see a disturbance at that time. So at that point, there was nothing for them to address. No, what patrons were they going to address? What, that kind of a situation. So subsequently, as you mentioned, it did escalate until to the following call, which was the shots fired. And then you had a 10-officer response immediately into the area to investigate what had happened. So I definitely hear your concerns. I want you to know that we do take these calls seriously. We are dispatched to them. Every call is a little bit different. And so it would be unfair for me to stand up here and compare it to something else. All I can do is kind of give you a little bit of information based on what I saw on the calls and what I read in the report based on what happened this weekend. So I hear your frustration. I've heard a lot of your guys in this room's frustration, and we are hearing you, we are listening, and we are taking this very, very seriously. So I know that doesn't necessarily answer your question per se. It doesn't fix it for you. Yeah, of course. Yep, of course. Absolutely. 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 Did you have a question? Was there somebody who had a hand up over here? Yes, ma'am. Sure, but the initial call that came in was exactly what he described, was a person arguing and maybe a gun involved, or the sound of the racking, sound of a pistol. Sure. Sure. Sh- Sure. I hear what you're saying. Unfortunately, I wasn't there that night working patrol, so I don't want to speak on behalf of the officers who were there. I will say that, there are many 911 calls that come in throughout the day for the police department, the north end and the south end. It could have been simple as an area check to see if they could identify anything that was reported in the initial call. And it could very easily have been something as simple as they got into the area, they didn't hear or see what they were told in the call, and were already being dispatched to something else. So I can't really speak to that just because I personally wasn't there that night. But there could be many things, but it could be something as simple as that.
And then just to add on a little bit too, because like we said, we weren't there. Obviously, we're trying to kind of look at the calls and see what happened and be able to address questions like that. And I think the one you're referring to came into our CAD system. It said like 1:13 in the morning, and then officers were on the way out there. One of the officers did add a note into the call that we can read later. And again, I wasn't there, so I don't know the extent of this, but there was a note that one of the officers stopped and did talk to, I believe, of security in your parking lot to see if they had noticed anything as well. So they did check the area and even checked with the security at that place and didn't see anything going on at that particular time.
I was going to say one thing that you had something to say, I believe. Before you say that, I was going to say, keep in mind, so we the police are very limited. So you have to walk the line. I don't know how to describe it. Unrealistic expectations. So you realize that new laws in the state of Washington hamper, hinder, guide us, if you will. You could use a number of verbs or descriptors. So we don't just shake people down or stop people. If we were to do that, we'll be held liable, if you will, or we could face discipline, or simply, if I were to just go out here and, or go down to Bigfoot Pizza and just talk to someone because I think they did something, they can tell me to go fly a kite, and that's what I'll do. Because, right. So I'm just saying, if you have unrealistic expectations of the officers, don't have those. We're limited in our ability to intervene in certain situations. And at all costs, we try to not use force. So that's our last resort, and everyone knows that. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to get blamed for use of force in any situation that doesn't warrant it. Okay, you had, okay.
Again, like, we take gun violence seriously too. We're not in here promoting it. We're not telling you to not be upset about gunshots in your neighborhood. We're aware that that is. But we also are doing a lot to try to prevent these things. Again, it has been a short amount of time. You can't expect us to shut down and just stop doing what we're doing this is our business, and we're trying to create a space for a wide group of people. And one of the things that we have been doing, again, we have 3 to 4 security guards outside during our nights, and I'm aware. I'm not done though. Can I finish talking, please?
We've never had more than 3.
There's never been 7. We've never hired 7 security people. There's been 3. There's been 3 or 4, and our goal, I closed Friday night. I was working Friday night. I did not hear the gunshots. That doesn't mean that obviously it didn't happen.
2:30 in the morning.
I was there.
It's already been closed.
Can you stop it? Can you stop? You stop.
This is this.
This is what we go
You
through.
guys brought us here to get attacked. That's not what we came.
I wanted to hear what all of you are having to say about Bigfoot. I'm aware that you are all very upset about everything that is going on. When I'm closing and when my bartenders are closing, we shut down at 1 o'clock on Friday night. 2 a.m., I saw all the police pull up. I went out and talked to them. I wanted to see what was happening. I was, again, unaware of what happened. At 1:30, when we closed, I asked my security guards to go walk through the parking lot and up around the neighborhood on the corner to make sure that people are leaving. That is one of the things that we are trying to do to ensure that people leave when it's over. I know that it apparently has not gone perfectly, but these are steps. We are doing a lot of things to try to accommodate all of you. But again, nobody has given us a minute of grace. You guys are coming at our event, yelling at us, telling us that we're dangerous, that our group is dangerous, that all the people in our building are basically criminals.
That's not true.
It is. Have you read the reviews online? Have you guys looked at
It doesn't have to be all of it. It doesn't have to be all of it.
Together as one,
Let them finish their explanation and then we'll.
You guys can sit here and keep attacking us, but won't let us defend our business that we take care of our kids with. But I don't wanna, you guys are not listening.
Please.
Or this gentleman standing.
Hang on.
This gentleman was the only neighbor who came to me and had a civil conversation as if I was a human being. The last person, this woman with her hand, she came to our business with her, no, honey, behind you.
Just
But
finish
what
up,
I'm
please.
saying, moral of the story is, we've literally been harassed. None of these neighbors have came to us like, hey, this is a disturbance. This is a disturbance that we are dealing with. How can we remedy the situation? We had one person.
Gentlemen speak, and then we're gonna talk about where we go.
You're okay.
So please go ahead.
I mean, it's easy for you guys to stand here in a group and just tear us apart, especially with all of you guys versus us. Now look around. What is the minority in here? What is the demographic? Of course, that's easy for you to call bullshit. I appreciate you in your concerns. I really do. And we've tried everything. We spend $1,000 a night on security for you guys. We do. I understand where your concern is, and I get that. But you angrily aggression towards us, that's not helping the situation. Have we came together to find a resolution? Answer yourself that. One time. Have you guys ever came with that? No, you did not. You came and attacked us with your friend. We're not going to go with that. But all I'm asking is, it does not make sense how you guys can sit there and come together and blame us for a crime. We have multiple comments. I'm not going to depict on who it is specifically, but oh my goodness, we're bringing your value down in your homes. We're robbers. We're thieves. Shh. We're robbers. We're thieves. We're going to be in your window at night with flashlights breaking into your house. We're rapists. That's exactly what you guys said.
Excuse me. Thank you. Wait a minute. As you know, this is an add-on to our regular meeting. We've got a complete meeting to get through. Thank you for coming. Christina mentioned in her description, they try to move people into compliance. I think that Bigfoot are very aware of what the issue is. Now, when Councilmember Rumbauer has her meeting, if they can have moved to compliance, which is what this is all about, they are aware of what the concerns are. I'm aware of what the concerns are. And let's hope that they can address it. Because if they can address it, then they can do what they talk about, wanting to continue. So thank you all for coming for this particular issue. I do appreciate the fact that people from Bigfoot did come to try and explain. We, as the North End Neighborhood Council, are willing to act as a resource to funnel it through and get information. So I will meet after this with them. And I'm assuming that this next meeting will occur in what, a month? Few weeks? Few weeks. So I think you are sending a big message to Bigfoot. Let's get in compliance. Let's have no problems. Let's have no noise. Let's have no drunks. And then it'll be fine. So we've been through this before with other issues. So I'm just going to call an end to this part. I want to thank Christina for her information. I really want to appreciate the police. And can we give a round of applause to the police? And I'll pass it back to yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think okay. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next segment, but I'll give Officers Brazil and Butts if they want to talk about any other. We usually have updates, more friendly updates, if you will, for North End. You guys are better at it than me.
Meeting. Let's go back to Kristen.
Okay,
So,
do you have a other?
So just close it up at that point?
Bourbon's community.
Yep.
And then there was a
Okay.
question about the other, the shooting.
I'm gonna give you that. So, I'll do, sorry.
So we just have one more thing to share, and I know I do appreciate everyone here, and we know that things like this do bring the community together. It's a negative that turns into a positive by meeting. How many of you folks have met someone that you live relatively close to and you never met them before tonight? Yeah, okay. We got some back there. So we can look at the bright side of some of this, and Christina did a great job explaining the process of what the city goes through. Like we said, I was a CLO in the South End for the last 6.5 years, and we did this, like Captain Darlington mentioned, several times with different businesses. Some ended positively, some businesses got shut down. So again, just with that process, it takes a little bit of time, but we are working on it. I know Kristen has been buried in it the last week, plus in that. So some of you have probably talked to her on the phone or on email in the last few days. So, but we just wanted to plug, there's an event that we're hosting. Bervin Smith is our community outreach director. So he's hosting on Saturday, March 14th at the Eastside Community Center. It's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's an open house style event, but it's for neighborhood leaders, business, and volunteer appreciation. So if you're in the room and you care about your community, you've qualified to attend here. So we'll leave information on the tables if you're interested in doing that. So we'd love to see you out there. He has a great barbecue and he loves to cook for a lot of people. And so there'll be his menu includes South Louisiana cuisine, other delicious entrees. You'll have community connection with neighbors, volunteers, Tacoma Police Department staff, and yeah, just a lot of good food. So I'd love to see you.
Lastly, I just wanted to kind of piggybacking off of what Christina mentioned earlier. I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what the 311 process looks like for the police department. So when you are submitting a 311, you understand kind of the process, what happens, where it goes, etc. So for the 311 process, if you are reporting something to the police department via 311, just remember that that section of 311 is not monitored 24/7. All of the police-related complaints come to Steve and I for the North End, specifically the 2 sector, which is your guys' area. So those come into us. Once we receive them, then we have a time frame that's allotted by 311 to handle the complaint. But my point being is that as much as I think Steve and I would love to be here at work 24/7, unfortunately we're not. So we do work a 4-10 schedule. If we're lucky, we get to cut our work week out after 40 hours, but oftentimes that doesn't happen. Nonetheless, for example, if you guys submit a 311, say on a Friday night, even if it's like in reference to a noise complaint about Bigfoot or your neighbor or whatever, just understand that we are off for 3 days in a row, and a lot of times we won't see that complaint until Monday morning when we're in the office again. There are some areas or departments within the city that do handle things immediately. I know Christina mentioned that like the parking enforcement, they get real-time like updates and stuff when you submit a 311. Our section of 311, that's not the case. So I just encourage everybody, if it's something in progress, if it's suspicious activity and you think it needs a police response, even if it's like a low level, please utilize non-emergency number or 911 if it's appropriate to get police out to the location at the time. There's just not anything that we're going to be able to do regarding like a fight that occurs on a Saturday night when we don't see it until Monday morning. So I just wanted to make sure and clarify that piece. We are not one of the departments in the city that has real-time live 311 updates. So I just wanted to touch on that. Before we walk away from the stage, is there any other questions that anybody else has for us? Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to write? Do you want me to? It's on your sheet, but it's 253-287-4455. I encourage everybody to save it as a contact in their cell phone because you just never know when you might need it. But yeah, it's on that sheet that Captain Darlington passed out. Yeah, save it in your phone. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
That was my question. I have had a conversation. I walked over and I went to talk to the owner, Todd, and then I met Divine for the first time a few weeks ago. It was after I saw a domestic violence incident, and I had to call 911, and I was terrified. My kids were screaming and crying. And so I walked over in my pajamas. We had a really calm talk. I am not aware of what she, I guess, thought. She even gave me her phone number and said, please message me and reach out to me if anything comes up. So I guess now things are turning, and now because there's more people involved, I'm a bad guy. Anyways, that's my question, I guess, is why would a pizza restaurant that's pizza first, bar second, need 4/7 security guards?
I wish I could answer that question for you. I don't know.
At least 4, if not more, security officers that are employed by them.
I can think of bars, right? They're kind of operating as.
Okay, I think you've answered your,
Yeah.
we know what the answer is, so if we are involved with Councillor Rumbaugh's meeting, we'll do a Q&A as we always do, where we'll solicit questions and we'll give them out so that we can get the answers addressed, so that the meeting is constructive and it's not just a
No, I agree
re-air.
with that. I
So,
get
yeah.
called on, so thank you for letting me.
And we will also, well, I'll follow up with Officer Brazil. So if there's some stuff that we can put out there to explain, yes, you've got the non-emergency, but is there a response to people being drunk? We know there's a response to shooting, but we don't know what there is a response to and what there isn't a response. So.
And I think a lot of you guys have my contact information and Steve's contact information. If you didn't have it before tonight, you should have it on the sheet that Captain Darlington passed out to all the tables. And you guys can feel free to reach out to us as well. I will say a little asterisk with that statement is email is the best way to get a hold of us. We're not always at our desk. We don't always, are always by our phones. We spend a lot of our time in the car. But our computers are usually always with us. So email is the best way to reach out. But you guys, anytime, you guys can reach out with questions or concerns, and we'd be happy to field those as well. Anybody else before I pass the mic back to Peter?
Thank you very much. Yes. Big round of applause for the police. I'd like to welcome up Josh from the fire department. And we actually have as always, a nice PowerPoint.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Slazner, Assistant Chief of EMS for Tacoma Fire Department, for those that don't know me. First off, even though we're done with the topic, I just want to say that nobody should live in fear. And obviously, this has been a big concern for you guys, and you guys are living in fear. And know that Tacoma Fire, as well as Tacoma Police, we took an oath to serve you and keep you safe to the best of our abilities. And we mean that we're going to live up to that. On that note as well, I know our Fire Prevention Bureau has been contacted as well. And so they'll get involved in this if there's overcrowding of the facility, stuff like that. So know that that's happening in the background. So here's our call volume for compared to last year. As usual, I always look at right here, down 18%. So that's saying something good. Either I personally think it's all the talks I give you guys and bringing you all the, like, hey, this is how you stay safe. Now that I say that, next month will probably look different. I hope not. But I'm glad that we're doing well and we're keeping those call volumes down, because when those call volumes are down, that means our people are being safe and nobody's getting injured or hurt, or less people are getting injured and hurt compared to last year. So it's National Poison Week starting March 20th. And so 20th to the 26th. And this is always a good reminder. The biggest one I want to say be a reminder for is the medications in your home that expire that we kind of hoard sometimes a little bit. You might want to get rid of those. They're probably not going to have the same efficacy. If not, they can, kind of mutate potentially and cause more harm than good. So go through those and let's make sure that we're trying to get rid of those. So honestly, the biggest one on here, most poisonings happen in the home, as you can see, but accidental exposures, children and animals, the most common cause. And so if we got rid of those pills and they weren't available, especially the expired ones and stuff like that, then at least that's one less thing to be accountable for, right? So we always want to be accountable for our pills. That's why, the pill containers always have like those child safe type things, but let's make sure we're keeping it safe and getting rid of the ones that we're not going to use. Medication errors happen as well. Trust me, I'm one of those people that need a pill counter that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because if I don't have it, I will forget. And then self-harm is obviously a cause too. And so, and sometimes when people just see that opportunity and they're having that day, if it wasn't there, then they're not going to do it. So get rid of them. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So I turned to AI, guys. So I recruited them a little bit and I said, hey, give me these things here. So we all heard about the Tide Pods in the past, or the little pods that you put in your washing machine. Remember those? Kind of look fancy, cute, kids want to grab them, put them in their mouth. So, make sure they're stored somewhere safe away, especially if you have kids, grandkids, stuff like that are coming over. Edibles are becoming more and more popular, and they look like brownies sometimes and other things. So, and gummies. So let's make sure we're getting rid of those. Be careful mixing chemicals. Make sure you're reading the labels and abiding by that. And then we already talked about this one, but seniors are at risk for medication errors. I'm at risk for medication errors. So, all right. And then I did a little research. So there's a website called Take Back Your Meds. And if you get on there and you click on Take Back Your Meds, I clicked in the north end just to kind of see what's the closest one is. And here's a shout out to police. They take partnership in this. Tacoma Police Sector 2. You can see the address there at 5140 North 26. They actually have a little kiosk there, secure lockbox that you can put your expired medications in and get rid of those. So now that we've talked about it, you guys know how to find it and go from there. And then I always talk about blood because brought the blood program to Tacoma, but there is a national blood bank shortage. You may have seen that on social media. It's actually been in the news as well. I just donated. If I wasn't wearing my jacket, you'd see a little pin mark on my AC up here, my antecubital. So I just gave blood last week, but our next blood drive, because we actually partner with Blood That Works Northwest, the City of Tacoma, as well as Tacoma Fire Department, is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that'll be at the TAPCO off 19th Street, so like 63rd and 19th. We'll be holding a blood drive. And then the next one after that, if you're not eligible or if you can't make that date, is April 19th. So please give blood. And then for the police department, I'm always making sure I'm including them now. You guys have any questions? By the way, I love this AI picture that came up. This guy would not be a firefighter. Who can tell me why? The beard. Yeah, you can't get a seal with your SCBA mask. So,
Big round of applause for Josh. And Jennifer, you.
He's always a tough act to follow. I tell you what, I'm Jennifer. I'm your community liaison officer. Thanks for coming out. Just had a few quick announcements. I know it's a packed agenda today. I wanted to let you know that March 4th, Wednesday, we're doing a reception at the art show, Everything That Was Left Carried. That's at the Kittredge Gallery. We also have a night at the museum, Spring to Life, on March 5th that you might be interested in. And then I wanted to tell you about the Puget Sound Women's League has their flea market coming up. Mark your calendars. That's March 21st. I know a lot of you like to come out to that. And then I also wanted to show you, we put these out on the table. Pam Taylor for the music department's here tonight. You have a lot of concerts and things that are happening still. And this month, I wanted to call out the Pop Music Ensemble, very popular, and the Jazz Orchestra. Lastly, we love that you come to our university and you enjoy it. And we would love it if you would support us any way you can. Tomorrow is Lager Day Challenge. It is our big annual fundraiser. It's happening, and we're just really happy to provide programming, lectures, and all sorts of things for you. So if you find it in your heart to help us in any way, we would be delighted. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we do really appreciate you hosting us each month. That's fabulous. Christina, let's do a round of applause for Christina. She didn't get applaud because she had to. That was a tough act. So, John, I'd like to welcome up our council member.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. John Hines, City Council. I'll keep this relatively quick. Again, I know the Councilman was going to host an event to talk about the conversation we had earlier today. Following closely, I'll look to support her as that kind of conversation moves forward. So I heard all the conversation that was given ahead of time. So well aware of what people are concerned about. Everybody has the right to live in a safe community, right? So with that, three things. I'm going to keep mine relatively brief. Number one, we're doing our city manager recruitment process right now. We had our two city manager finalists. There was a meeting last Thursday. They had a public meeting. We interviewed both of them at a study session, and then there was an event at the Tacoma Dome. Council will be talking about the two finalists tomorrow. Potentially could be making an offer of hiring tomorrow. That'll be done at the council busy business meeting tomorrow night. So the council has many responsibilities in the policy world, but we only actually hired one person. And that's the city manager. And the city manager hires everybody else. So it's kind of the one kind of big hire the city council has on its agenda right now. Number two, we had our council retreat 2 weeks ago. We've added a new mayor and a new council member, so we spent that time talking about kind of what we want to focus on over the next year or so. My priorities are pretty much the ones that you've always heard me talk about since I've been here, right? Public safety, streets and sidewalks, litter, trash, graffiti, those are the kind of the big ones that always kind of stick in my mind. I'm probably forgetting housing and homelessness. There's many more, but nothing new, just a chance for us to talk through that. Number three, wanted to make sure I talk about, then I'll answer one or two questions because we've been here already for a while and I have soccer practice to get to. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but one of my pet projects that doesn't involve animals is litter and trash. And if you've been driving around the city, you may be seeing more and more Tidy Up Tacoma trash cans. The city's put out over 150 new trash cans this past 2 weeks. I was out where they were installing them off of South 19th by Cheney Stadium. But if you look around, you see the new trash cans. They look different. They're kind of black outline. 150 new trash cans, courtesy of Tidy Up Tacoma. I would just like to thank the North End Neighborhood Council because the conversations with you all is kind of what led that. Because I heard a lot from not only you, but the business district that there weren't enough trash cans in the city to really address litter. And now we're getting even more. So those are my three. And then I see one question already, and we'll go from there. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So great question. Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't. I'm a litter tourist and I go lots of places to see what litter looks like in other places, and it does not look as bad as here. Good question. The roadways, yes, is part of the issue. Tidy Up specifically focuses on business districts, main arterials, and the trash cans, but we bought a kind of a trailer vacuum litter vac called the Grit City Gobbler. I think that's the name it ended up with. Yes, you let the public name it. But to your point, we just, when I was at the trash can installation on Friday, I heard the city is about to take position on a large litter vacuum truck, which will allow us to work with WSDOT to address the litter and trash you're seeing on the on-ramps, off-ramps, and kind of those areas. So one of the challenges we run into is if we want to, that's Washington State Department of Transportation property. So they often require their equipment. It takes time, but we've found that if we can get our own truck, they're more than happy to let us clean it for them, and then we just bill them for it, right? Because it's not our responsibility to clean the highways, it's the state's responsibility. But so that litter truck will be here in the next few weeks. So hopefully see an impact. All right, Kit, you got the last question. Is Peter's gonna give me the hook? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Yes. And we're starting a community levity committee because one of the things we found in the first time iteration was not getting enough public feedback on what they want to see as the total package of what comes out of the streets initiative. So we have a community levy committee. They're going to start meeting. And if you all are interested in being, I can provide Peter with more information for people to provide feedback to kind of what they want to see as part of the package. But to agree with Kit's part, initial conversations, nothing's been put forward yet, is looking at potentially going on the ballot in August of 2026. There's some reasoning behind why that date and not other dates. There's some, we have April ballot that's got a Parks ballot on it. There's potentially a Pierce Transit ballot coming in November. So there's not a lot of space that's available. So that's one of our conversations, but we haven't decided anything yet. Those conversations will get a little more serious because there's a timeline by which we need to do that. But yes, I will be heavily involved. I'm going to walk and I'll ask Joe. I'll talk to Joe when I walk out.
Okay. And on the roads initiative, we are trying to get Deb from our board onto that citizens committee. So we've got a nomination in and John's helping us on that. That being said, a round of applause for our council member, please. And now I'd like to welcome up Alyssa, who comes to us every month, but more importantly this month.
Hi, good to see you. I thought I'd have a bigger room. I'm bummed. All right, right on. So I am here to talk to you about the bond proposal that will be, as Councilmember mentioned, on the ballot of April 28th. If you hear nothing else from me tonight, hear me say vote on April 28th. Okay, that is what I can say. We'll go ahead. Next slide. Thank you. So what would this bond fund? Okay, so it would be for $155 million for over 100 projects in 40 locations across the city. And that is what this brochure is that you should have on your table. I want to emphasize that no increase in current taxes. That's what I want to emphasize. No increase in current taxes. We have debt that is rolling off. That's why we are able to then go out and potentially, if voters approve, issue new debt that would fund improvements across the community in every neighborhood, take care of the existing system. That's really important. I'll talk a little bit about the Citizens Advisory Group that helped us put together this package. And one of their priorities is really taking care of our existing system. And it also, as I mentioned, it capitalizes on retiring debt. So that's why we can issue new debt and not increase taxes. Next slide. So to remind you, a bond is not a levy. A levy pays for your ongoing operations, kind of like your home budget. A bond is more like a loan, like when your roof goes out. So it funds the large long-term capital projects, like the roof of your home, usually over a payment of 20 years. We're going to fund multiple projects with this bond. One of the advantages of having this money available is that we can go out for grants. And oftentimes grants require that we bring some of our own money to the table. So there's a lot of grants that we cannot apply for or we would not land if we didn't bring some of our own money to the table. The annual budget, why would we do a bond? Annual budget is not large enough to fund construction projects. So you do pay taxes and levies, but again, that goes for your operations. That does not pay for like the roof on your house, right? And the tax amount is based on the valuation of the owner's property. So I live in a more modest home. That's a percentage of, I would pay a little bit less than what someone who lives in a much larger home than I do pays. Next slide, please. So what bonds can pay for: new construction, reconstruction or replacement, major additions, remodeling, renovation, rehab, furnishing fixtures, equipment, land acquisition. So anything like new that we're adding on, next slide, cannot be used for the routine maintenance and repair, okay? Or like I've said, day-to-day operating costs or feasibility studies. We can't do a study. I would put a little bit of an asterisk here. We can do a study if it's certain that that study will result in construction of the project that was contemplated in that study. Thank you. So the last time voters approved a bond for Parks Tacoma was in 2014, so 12 years ago. We are nearing the end of that loan, if you will. And that project or that bond paid for a lot of neighborhood park improvements, a lot of zoo improvements, and a lot of safety upgrades. It was $198 million. It was actually larger. It was also over, it's been, like I noted, 12 years. And it leveraged, as I was saying, oftentimes we can apply, we use this money to match other grants. So we were able to bring in an additional $44 million in grants, and it paid for hundreds of capital projects across the community. And if you want more details, you can always access those through our website. There's the address. And so specifically, bond highlights that have been accomplished over these last 12 years. A pool at People's Center, the East Side Community Center. I won't read them all to you, but a lot of regional projects, Northwest Trek, Point Defiance Loop Trail, which is under construction now. It's an accessible loop trail. A lot of people always walk Point Defiance, but there's never been a safe designated loop all around the park. So some things at Swan Creek. I mentioned I didn't mention the aquariums, but more things at the zoo. So a lot of different projects across the community from that 2014 bond. So I said I was going to say a little bit about the process by which this proposed package was put together. Internally, we did a deep analysis of the needs. Again, you might go out in the parks and see things are falling apart. We can't pay for maintenance, but if it's reached its end of life, so we did that analysis of what are the things that lots of times playgrounds, for example, have outlived their useful life. You can't even get a replacement part anymore because the company doesn't manufacture those. That would be a replacement that a bond could pay for. So we really prioritized that kind of safety when we looked at what kinds of projects we thought should be proposed in this bond. We then had a citizen advisory committee, 28 community members representing. There were our advisory councils, there were neighborhood council representatives, other local governments, our other partners, other nonprofits, the foundations that support, there are 5 foundations that support Parks Tacoma, businesses, user groups like folks interested in skate parks or folks interested in pickleball, had just a wide variety of interests help us, as you can see, sort through the different projects and really help us sort out about what would be priority for this community. And so the recommendations of that advisory committee were, number 1, do not increase taxes. We did look at options that would increase taxes, and they emphasized no. We do not believe that at this time, given our economy, that it would be wise to ask voters to increase taxes. They emphasized equitable investments across Tacoma. So really looked at where there were holes in the system, where there are neighborhoods that maybe have not had the same level of investment historically as other neighborhoods, and really recommended that we invest in those areas that have been left behind, if you will. And underscored really investing in local parks. I mentioned in the 2014 bond, it really invested a lot in regional things like the zoo, like Northwest Trek, like the aquariums, Dune Peninsula. They recommended that we really look at the parks that are in our neighborhoods and connections to parks. How is it that people are getting to those parks? When we did update of our strategic plan, one of the things that became apparent to us is people might have a park within a 10-minute walk, which is a standard that we're always moving toward, but they don't go to that park within 10 minutes. For all kinds of reasons. And so this group really emphasized how can we invest in making sure those connections, people can actually get to the parks that are near them. And land acquisition to address a growing population. We know we've got holes in the system, so they really underscored investing in acquiring more spaces to add to our park system. So this is the map that's in your brochure. You can see the key about what kind of upgrades would be made at a location. Again, over 100 different types of projects in over 40 locations. I might point out that to that point of land acquisition, these dotted lines suggest that in those areas there are opportunities that are already underway to potentially create new park spaces. By and large, they are with the school district that has got various properties on the east side and the south end and the west end that they are looking to surplus. And there's areas, for example, on the east side, the former Galt Middle School site, an area, a space that the neighborhood was already accustomed to using as a recreation space. And so potentially Parks Tacoma being able to acquire that, space. So I'll go to the next slide. Oh, so you, of course, would want to know what specifically in the north end. So we are looking at building the new restroom facilities at Jefferson and at Wright Park. I might note at Jefferson, that building, the restrooms and the gathering space that was available there burned down, right? We received some insurance money, but we're looking at doing more than just what the insurance would recover. It's right. This is a new activities, new time. So it's not just replacing, but we can actually upgrade. And I will note that right now there is a survey online that you can input what kind of design suggestions you might have for a new restroom and gathering building at Jefferson Park. That survey is open through through this week at least. I think March 9th is the date. So I would go check that out. We're going to renovate sports fields across the city, including Jane Clark. Developing greenways with the City of Tacoma. This is those connections that I mentioned. The Citizen Advisory Committee said, really see how you can invest in the connections so people can get to parks. And that includes Ruston Way. Renovate the failing pavement along Ruston Way, right? Unfortunately, there are some sections that the erosion is really severe, and we might be having to take some action for safety measures to make sure that people don't, make sure that those aren't a hazard to people. And then renovate the spray ground at Jefferson Park. We're doing spray ground renovations at, I believe it's 9 different locations across the city. That's another one of those things that oftentimes those spray grounds, they're at end of life, can't even get the parts for them anymore. And so it's time to just build an entirely new and modern or contemporary spray ground facility. Next slide. So want to note that, again, it's $155 million. It's less than the 2014 bond, but it's also fewer years. All right, we would do these projects within 6 years, not the 12 years we've been doing the 2014 bond. Over 40 locations, no increase in taxes. And so this would cost property owners the same, 45 cents per thousand in assessed home value that y'all are paying now. So that's about $249, $250, $1 less, $250 per year. If your house is the average value of $553,000, if your house is less than that, like mine, you pay less than $249 per year. If your house is more, you pay a little bit more. Next slide. And like I said, if you heard nothing else, April 28th, that is the day. You will see it on the ballot. It's the only thing you'll see on the ballot. And because it's a bond, it requires 60% plus 1 approval, so higher than your simple majority. And also, we need to have 40% of the number of voters that turned out for the previous election, the general election in November. We need to have 40% of those voters turn out, which is a total of 19,956. If we only get 19,955 people to turn out, then the measure fails. So I'm just encouraging you to get out and vote. And also, you will receive ballots if you're a registered voter the week of April 10th. So that is just a little bit more than a month away. Tell your friends and neighbors. Yes. I'm going to start. I saw your hand first, and then I'll go over here to yours, ma'am. Mhm. Okay, so all of those things. So let's see, bonds are sold. So in state law, for us as a local government to put bonds to take this action, it has to go before the voters. We're required in state law to put it on the ballot. So it's like the stock market. So we put up collateral and say, we have bond representation. They're like people on the stock market, and they go out and they sell shares that then other people anywhere who it gets to buy these and loan us money. You would want to work with a stockbroker. You'd want to work with a financial representative. Yes. So the reason that voters approve it, so the reason voters approve it is because it is your tax dollars that are paying down the interest and the principal. So it's your money that you pay in taxes. That's, 200, if you want to go back a slide, I said it's $250 a year on an average home price. So that $250 a year that you're paying in taxes goes to help pay the interest and the principal down on the bonds. So we can get more financial advice from someone who's actually a financial advisor, which I am not. But you had a question, sir. Yes. There are very few federal grants actually that a Parks Department can qualify for. So it's by and large state grants, but there are opportunities, yes. Yes. Even the state grants often stem from federal funds. And so, less funds. And then I'll go around in this order. In the advisory council that did to advise us on this package, I don't recall. I can't say that I was in on every conversation. So there's certainly a lot of competing projects, and community centers is one of the things that's important to people, not only in this bond, but also in our strategic plan. One of the themes of creating gathering spaces is a priority for this community. So this bond package, as you see it, this is final. So this goes to the ballot as is. Now, with regard to Cushman, we are still, the Parks Department, Parks District is still part of that conversation that's facilitated by the city. They aren't taking action until 2027. And I was speaking with the economic development director just a couple of weeks ago, and that just was the answer that I got. No action until 2027, but you are at the table. So holding right now. Mm-hmm. So we partner on a lot of different things. With some schoolyards are called community schoolyards, where we've helped build part of the facility. Washington is not one of those. The school district does have a policy of, having the schoolyard open when students are not in session or when there isn't some special event. So also, once having been a parent at Washington, if there are more benches that you want, for example, at Washington, that is something to talk to that school about and to see if there are improvements in that way that can be made. So the first round, we did a program sponsored by Trust for Public Land. They helped fund some of the improvements, and we did 5 community schoolyards. And it's based on a national program where really filling in where there are gaps in a 10-minute walk, communities where they don't have a park with or open space within a 10-minute walk. And but if we could transform the school, that could be. And a lot of it is getting more natural features into the schoolyard as well. Think of this national model. Think of New York City was kind of where it was piloted. And so oftentimes it's just a concrete jungle. So we did 5 schoolyards again, in partnership with Trust for Public Land, looked at where there are gaps in our own system. Oh my goodness, Larchmont is opening soon. Stafford in the South End, Whitman, Jenny Reed, thank you. And those were the 5 that we did, and based on that criteria. Yeah. That's a good point too. We're in partnership with the school district. They were looking at schools where they would already be doing some improvements instead of ripping something out. Where would they be already starting some improvements? And so we came together. They had to choose where they wanted to do things as well. It's not up to us exclusively to say that's the location we're going to work on. Yeah, I got 3 people. So if you're quick, I can fit 3 questions into 2.
Just don't find the Park District being proactive on this issue. We have had community meetings, we have had a real push for Christmas, and it just keeps getting pushed back. And that's not equitable. Talk about equity in this. And if you look at this map, there isn't equity. And I just don't think that we're being taken seriously in the North End or the West End, because they also, like us, are the only part of town that does not have a community center. And that is not fair. And one of the bases of government is to be fair to the whole population of the city. And we get ignored, we get pushed back, we get told that we have all the benefits, yet in those very important things, we don't. And also with the spread of parks in our area, we just, especially in the central part of the whole community, half the time, locked up, using it. No, because I try to go there. Thank you. And it's just not an adequate response. So for the first time, I think since I've lived in the city for 30 years, I don't see enough on this question for me to vote for it. I'm sorry, because I love the park.
Is there a question? Okay, I was going to try and do 2 questions.
Park District trails, there were 9 up to 8, and about connecting facilities. That was one park, school, everything, and it's been dropped with no north. Posted, and yet it's very, so
Okay. So, Joe, is your question similar? Is it about equity? So what I will say is that we agree that there are a lot of needs. We started out with a much bigger package, right? The last bond was 10 years. We started from a baseline of could we do 10 years? That would raise a lot more money. And again, what we got a big pushback on from the Citizen Advisory Committee was do not increase taxes. So we had scaled this back to 6 years. And the idea is to build on some success in these 6 years. And then the economy, we're hoping 6 years from now will be better and we can chip away at a more aggressive pace once we're through this current economy. So there are projects in this brochure that I know you've seen, and it's been a long meeting, and I want to make sure that I get to the third question that I said I would get to, and that is you.
My biggest question is just if you want me to vote yes, what are the steps and the assurances you can give us that you're not going to go back into the red?
Okay, so those are excellent question. And again, these are not operations dollars. So the analogy I was using about taking out a loan on your home.
You can't just step back and say, oh, we can't pay that this month.
Right, no. Right, no.
So if we're going to approve a loan, is there assurances of other things that you're doing to make sure that that loan isn't just a little bit too much for you to handle in the next couple of years?
So yes, there is strict, is there one more slide there? I don't think there's one more slide. Is there one more slide? No, nope, that's not the one. There's a different longer presentation that goes into the accounting mechanisms, but is very strict accounting when it comes to a bond. We have bond counsel that put the package together and did the pro forma to determine that this would be an amount that could be paid back over time on a schedule. The operations dollars is in a different problem that would be solved in different ways. Yeah, not related to the bonds. Yeah.
So I'm sorry to bring it to an end. We do have one more meeting before the vote. So Alyssa is very responsive. We've already received a couple of questions that we received outside of this meeting. There's some other people who have questions that are outstanding. If you send them to us, Alyssa will address those. We'll ask her to address those in her liaison report next month. That being said, a round of applause for Alyssa, and I'd like to introduce Kerry.
Thank you. Well, I've been coming for about 2 years whenever I'm invited to come and represent Tacoma School District. My background is, my name is Kari Campen. I grew up in the North End, went to Sherman, went to Mason, went to Stadium. I think Corey was there about the same time I was at Stadium High School. So 2 local boys have done good, I think, out of that. But let's see. First of all, thank you. So the levy's passed phenomenal. We always rely on you as the voters. And if you think about it, a construction business, a restaurant business, you know who the owner is. But the school district, you know who the owner is? It's you. You're the owners. So you voters own the school district. So what you do is you vote for people to be on the board. The board hires the superintendent. The superintendent watches over hiring the rest of us. But you're the owners. So you decide on the levies or the bonds that we do get. And as she explained, it's really difficult. I also, once a year, I teach a advanced accounting class down at UW Tacoma. And I teach the difference between private accounting and governmental accounting. And it's top-notch accounting students. And for the first 3 weeks of the governmental accounting, they are stumped. It's just not normal the way you would think of running a business. But it's the way every government entity does it. And as she mentioned, levies are to help with day-to-day operations, and bonds help with big projects, mostly. So you approved a bond for us over a year ago for $650 million to be used for renovating schools and so forth, some partnership things that we're doing with Parks Tacoma. But the levy is to help with the day-to-day operations. The state helps us with about 85% of the cost of running a school district, and then you as the local owners help decide about the other 15% or so, what we can do with that. And so voters, we just needed a 50% plus one vote in order for the first levy to pass. And we had 70.8, I don't know what a T is, but 70.8% voted yes. So that's phenomenal. Thank you for doing that for us. As we mentioned before in our previous presentation, that's $2.23 per $1,000 of assessed value. And that'll be about $135 million a year over the 4-year period that the levy was approved for. So not as small as yours was, but we got lots of kids that we're taking care of in that area as well. That unfortunately goes on a calendar year and not on a school year. So that money will not start coming into the school district until January, this January coming up. The next one is Proposition 2. Proposition 2 passed with a 69.6% approval. So again, thank you very much. That is for mostly technology stuff, 79 cents per $1,000 of assessed value, and that's $135 million a year. I don't think that's right. Yeah, that is not right. So it's less than $135 million a year for that fund, and about half of that. There's a handful of slides in here that I'm just going to zip by quickly, but you know what they go for. Again, that's that 15% or so for Proposition 1 is daily operations, and the other portion on the tech fund or tech levy is for the technology, for students to have laptop computers, for us to have firewalls, for all the other security things that go on in the district. And okay, we have a little video. Are you able to click on the video for me? Oh, that's not the video, but here we go. Okay, that's okay. So the video was a short video from our superintendent, Josh Garcia, surrounded by a bunch of elementary school kids, thanking you for voting and helping their lives. Any questions on the levy? Levies? That is a great misconception in our area. So in my position, I know what everybody makes in the entire school district. And I can tell you that he does not make $400,000. And there's a public record from the state that is the best one to look at. We are the 4th largest school district in the state, and he is the 12th highest paid superintendent in the state. But he's not making that much money, I can tell you that. Yep. So I'll encourage you to go out and look at the public information. And yeah. Okay, I can tell you that it's not. Yeah. Uh-huh.
April, we're asked to pass a bond for the parks. Why didn't we do those together? I mean, instead of coming to the public every 4 months for an election.
Yeah. No, they're not. Great question. There's a lot of science and art that goes along with when to put those out there. But also at the end of the day, even though you're the owners of both institutions, they do operate separately. And so we don't wait for any other organization to put their proposals together. They're self-funded through your help. They're self-directed. So it'd be nice. It's kind of like spring break. Wouldn't it be nice if every school district in Washington had the same week for spring break? It's not going to happen, but it'd be nice. But so we are separate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Again, there's a little bit of a science and an art, but also, as she mentioned, there's a committee that works on this. It's not like a 1-month thing. It could be a couple years of putting together, getting proposals, getting public input. And then when all that comes together, then we have to look at timelines to say, okay, when can we file? When could it be in there? How many voters are going to churn out? So it's difficult. It's not something I make the decision on for sure. But we try to get everything out there at the fastest time we can that we think voters are going to come out and support. And again, fortunately, in Tacoma, we have a lot of voter support for many of the programs that we have. So. Oh, there we go. I have heard him talk before, so I know he's saying something. Yeah, he might be. Yeah, you got the idea. Yeah, good. Thanks for trying to get that up for us. Any other questions? No more levies for another 4 years, yeah. From Tacoma Public Schools, yeah. Yeah, promise. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Oh, I got one more. And that was in regards to Lowell Elementary School. So here's a picture of about a week ago. And the outside is mostly done. We've got a little bit of exterior stuff to go. The main entrance you can see down here is not completed yet. Some siding and roofing to be done. The interior has been started, but drywall and paint are coming. Carpet and tiles are coming. And it's still on track to be open on September of 2026. So just coming up this next September. And this is one of the projects that was funded from the bond that was approved in 2020. For that, so. I don't know who's responsible for that, but I'm sure it will be taken care of. Yeah. So, and then as far as the, shooting incident around there, again, it's a school area. We're really concerned about it. But you as the owners of the city, when you call 311 or any of those connections, that helps us because you're the owners. So we appreciate you making noise about those kind of things. Okay, thank you.
And I appreciate you jumping in at the last minute because we sort of lined him up a week ago. So that was really appreciated that. Moving on, unfinished business. You'll remember that we announced that we were going to, we were supporting the North Union Avenue Greenway nomination. Did that get passed, or do we know the status of that? Okay, so more on that. I put up Tidy Up Tacoma. If you remember, we had a presentation from them. They want to be involved with this, so I am working with them. Under new business, I have a suggestion. This is from Council Member Rumbell. The mayor has, every week, he has what he calls office hours, where he goes around to a different district and he does meets in a coffee store or meets in a pub or somewhere. We went up to Naps. There was about 8 of us. 4 of us were from the North End Neighborhood Council, so we were well represented. And it was an excellent opportunity. And Councilmember Rumbell asked us, not everybody can come out in the evening. Sometimes this is sort of a little bit structured. Would there be interest in doing something along those lines where we would get together once a month or once every other month for over coffee at a coffee store and sort of discussing neighborhood issues? So I'm just sounding out. If that is of interest, we will pursue it. If it's not, we'll drop it. It would start off with us. It would be our coffee morning, and perhaps we'd invite somebody to come in and speak to us. The mayor's coming anyway. That's a different day. But I'm saying that perhaps it's an opportunity for us to, the suggestion was made, not everybody can come out at night. It's a long meeting. How about meeting just for a cup of coffee? So does that sound interest to anybody? And if not, I'm getting a few nods. So we'll think about that and come on. So, Christina? I announced it. And do we have any other items? If the only thing I want to add on, this was a very long meeting, and unfortunately a lot of our meetings are, and I do know that we shut off questions before when people still have them. What we have always able to do is, if you have questions, if you think a question that you wanted to ask, a question that you asked that you didn't think was answered correctly, send them to us. We reach out to the speakers, and as I started off saying, we got 9 pages of answers from the mayor following that. So if you do have issues, please follow up with us. Yes. 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 No, it's at officers@nenc.org. Sorry, that's wrong. So I need to up. I'm also responsible for the agenda, so I messed up on that one. Anyway, okay. Anything else? Yes, one question. I think it's on the back of the, read. Georgette does a wonderful job on always doing this community information on the back of the agenda. So if you want to go there. That being said, I'll adjourn the meeting, and next month, we have the 3 representatives from the 27th District. That's Speaker Jenkins, Chair Fye, and Senator Trudeau. They like to go around the different neighborhood groups with a presentation, but we don't let them get away with just that. So we'll also be soliciting questions, specific questions to have them address those as well. That being said, thank you all for lasting. Kit, you're Oh. Okay, thank you.
So you guys got thrown under the bus. A lot of these people don't understand how you guys